Thank you for joining me for lesson 14 of our daily Sefer HaMitzvos study. Um, for day 14 is going to cover 14 mitzvahs, so that seems appropriate. It's the most we've done so far, and remember, we're getting through 51 mitzvahs regarding idolatry that are all taking place within 4 days. So tomorrow night and on Sunday, we will also be having quite a few mitzvahs, and then things will start to slow down a little bit. But I promise you, there are going to be some surprises in this year before we get done. All right, so today we are going to deal with, and you can see it in the description as well, negative mitzvahs. They're all negative. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 26, 28, 27, 29, 14, 8, 9, and 7. All right, and remember, these are all in line with what's being studied in 3 chapters a day for Mishnah Torah, and the section is called Avodas HaChochavim, or the Hilchos, the laws regarding Avodah Zarah, or foreign worship, or that's the Jewish way of saying idolatry. So the first mitzvah, we are forbidden to incite someone else to idolatry. So we can't encourage someone, try to talk someone into worshiping a false god. That comes from Deuteronomy 13, verse 12, which says, "And no more such wickedness shall be done amongst you." All right. Loving an insider. We're forbidden to have love for the compassion for this person who's inciting to idolatry. It says, "Do not be drawn to him." So don't let yourself get close to him. Deuteronomy 13, verse 9. Then we are commanded regarding abhorring the insider. It says, "Nor shall you listen to him." So the person who was inciting you to idolatry or to worshiping false gods, you're not allowed to soften toward that person. You should be you have disdain for this person that's urging you to abandon God. Pity for the insider. So Deuteronomy 13, verse 9 says, "Your eye shall not have pity on them." So we shouldn't, again, feel compassion for them, and the Torah commands us to help our neighbor or our enemy when they are in distress, or their donkey, it says specifically, is falling under its load. We're supposed to help that person. You don't help the idolatrous. The word to me is just fits like somebody who's a missionary for idolatry, somebody who's trying to get you to forsake belief in Hashem, or forsake belief in Hashem as the one God. Then you're not supposed to help that person. They're to be to you like like a pagan, outsider, that someone's not part of your brothers and sisters. They're like worse than a pagan. So don't don't follow after them. Sparing an insider, nor shall you spare him. This is Deuteronomy 13, verse 9. So the person who's the target of the idol worship is not allowed to justify the actions of the one who urge them to abandon God, nor is he allowed to express anything positive about the insider that could possibly lead to vindication of his sin. So this is an exception to the general rule. Normally, courts encourage anyone who has something positive to say about the accused that they should speak up. But in this case, that is not done. Concealing evidence about the inciter. So Deuteronomy 13, verse 9 says, "Nor shall you cover up for him." And so what this means is if when this goes to court, um, you're not to conceal evidence. If you're a witness, you need to witness against that person. Um, yeah. So any evidence that you have against them must be given to the court. All right. Idolatrous prophecies. The prophet, this is Deuteronomy 18:20. The prophet that shall speak in the name of other gods, and then you can read the rest. So it's forbidden to prophesy, claiming that God commanded worship of some other false deity. It's also forbidden to prophesy in the name of a false deity. To claim that they instructed to serve them, and that they will reward if you will comply, etc., or that they will punish you if you don't worship this false deity. So that is a sin for a person to do. You are commanded not to speak in the name of other gods. All right. Then Deuteronomy 13:4 says, all right, if somebody is an idolatrous prophet and you hear about it, Deuteronomy 13 verse 4 says, do not listen to the words of that prophet. And in fact, if it comes to if you have the opportunity, you're to tell them to stop. And warn them that they are going to be put to death if they continue. False prophecy. So Deuteronomy 18, verse 20 says, but the prophet who shall purposely speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, and again, you can read the rest, it is forbidden to utter a prophecy in the name of God that we don't know that God gave that prophecy. So we should everyone should be very careful about the way that when they claim that God is telling them something for someone else. I've heard it a lot, maybe not so much in Jewish circles, but if you know what I'm talking about, be very careful with that. Now you're not a judge, but keep that in mind that it is a grave sin for someone to prophesy in the name of God if they did not actually hear from God. All right. Now, if there is a false prophet and they claim to speak in God's name, Deuteronomy 18:22 says, "You shall not fear him." So if that person says, you'll be, rewarded if you do this or punished if you don't, etc., and they're whatever they say, like they give some sort of a dire prophecy or something, you're not to fear them. You're not to respect that person if they are a false prophet. All right. Swearing in the name of false gods. Exodus 23, verse 13 says, make no mention of the name of other gods. So it's forbidden the way this is interpreted, a couple different ways. We are forbidden to swear in the name of an idol, or to ask someone else to swear in the name of a false deity. And we're also not to mention the name of an idol. And the example that's given here um, is that if there's an idol over there and you say, "Oh, I'll meet you in a moment. I'll be right back. Go and wait for me over by this idol of Snoopy or whatever it is," and you're not to do that. That is part of this negative mitzvah, that we're not to mention the names of idols. All right, of, do not turn to the oaths. This is Leviticus 19:31. So we're forbidden from employing the idolatrous practice of oath, and this is a very difficult one because well, I mean we run into oath idolaters all the time, and it's just such a part of our day-to-day life. Well, okay, so we don't really know, or we may not be familiar with Ov, but I'll read you what it says here. It's very interesting. So the Ov practice consisted of burning a certain incense and doing certain acts which were known to Ov followers. At that point, it would seem that the person engaging in these acts would hear a voice emanating, and I believe Mishnah Torah says sometimes from the earth, and then but they would also hear a voice that came out of their armpit, and they would answer questions. So they would ask questions to their armpit, and this voice would come out of their armpit and answer their questions. So that is not a practice that we are to be involved in. Yidoni, another idolatrous practice that we don't encounter very often nowadays, but Leviticus 19:31 nevertheless has the commandment, do not turn to Yidoni. So we're forbidden from employing the idolatrous practice of Yidoni. The Yidoni practice consisted of inserting into one's mouth, and yeah, who knows? Maybe this is actually still done in some places, but they would take a bird bone from a bird called Yadoa. They would take this bone and put it into their mouth, and they would burn incense and say certain formulas and do certain rites, and then that person would fall into a trance, and then a voice would come out of their mouth, presumably because of this bone that's in their mouth, and they would begin to predict the future. So some of those things might sound absolutely bizarre, but there are a lot of magical practices that are done by pagans and others. I'm not versed in all of those things, and it's good for us not to be versed in all those things. But there are a lot of practices, such as this, or some other things. Look into if something's questionable to you, if there's a practice that's questionable to you, and you encounter it or whatever, it might be good to look into, see um, what the rabbis have to say about it, and that's a safe way to get your answer. All right, Moloch worship. Leviticus 18:21 says, "Do not give any of your children to deliver to Molech." So specifically, you're not allowed to pass your child through the fires of Molech, and this sounds like you're burning your, God forbid, burning a child in the fire. That's not actually what is done. What was done, I don't know exactly how big the flames were, but I'm reminded of when they place out coals, hot burning coals on the ground, um, and you walk over top of them. That is kind of what we're talking about. So the parent, the father, would hold their child, and they would walk across the flames, um, from one side to another, and that was how they did this offering of their child to Molech. So it's not that they actually burned and killed their child, but um, they were they were doing this ritual, and that is forbidden here. And so again, hopefully something we don't come into contact with, but good is it's still, even though we don't come into contact with those things, it's still good to learn the mitzvahs, because these are still eternal mitzvahs, and we can also kind of use these to guide us in what is permitted and what is not permitted. And if you want to learn more about these, you can read the days section in Mishnah Torah for more information. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with another bunch of mitzvahs. Purim is almost over, so hopefully you've had a happy Purim, and also a good Shabbos tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day in every way.